How can you, as a business owner, get more financial understanding in your business? How do you get better financial insights that power your business forward, make you more profitability? How do you forecast for the future with a much stronger framework? How do you put yourself in control of your business, taking it forward, making it grow? Those hows can be answered simply by looking at your business in terms of groups or segmentation if you prefer. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the power of groups, what groups actually are, share some examples and tips with you. Hi folks, welcome to another weekly episode of I Hate Numbers, the channel that's there to improve your financial awareness, improve your money mindset, help you and your business make more profit, save tax and time. What a fantastic combination we have there. Let's crack on with the video. Now, the idea of groups, let me share in the bigger context, businesses that we all connect with and understand. So let's take the example of a supermarket. A supermarket is organizing its products, the many thousands of lines, into groups, clusters or segments. Take the pick of which term you prefer. So if we imagine that from a supermarket, as it looks at its daily takings, it's going to be thinking of its products in fast-moving consumable goods, wines and spirits, fresh food, and so it goes on. Those are groups that it's going to be categorizing, which it will collect its sales data and its cost data in. If we imagine a restaurant might look at its sales and break that down into groups and clusters such as takeaway, eating, dining, commercial catering. Those are three groups that it could possibly have. If we think about airline companies, I know we're thinking about the big boys here, by the way, folks, but those big boys have disciplines and ways of dealing with their numbers that we as SMEs can also adapt for our own cause. An airline typically will have not just money coming from passengers, it will have freight. All those may be a way that it categorizes its income. If we think about the more humble service type business, well, you might be thinking, I just deliver one service, I might deliver training, I might deliver consulting services. Well, those can also be broken down into groups. You may do one-to-one training, you may do workshops, you may do peer group, you may do mentoring. Those are discrete product groups. If I think about my own business, one of them is providing accounting services that helps businesses grow and sustain. And I could be looking at that in terms of compliance work, in terms of accounts preparation, in terms of tax planning and advice, in terms of mentoring, in terms of management accounting, in terms of planning for growth and prosperity. Now, those are different groups. The question then comes is, how do we decide what goes into what group and why should we bother? Well, if we think about the power of putting things into groups, if we think about the income that we generate, we think about the cost that we spend, visualize your business as being made up of a variety of buckets. As we make a sell, we put that into bucket number one. We sell something else, maybe our one-to-one training, we put that in a different bucket. If you are a product-based business, by the way, thinking you're being left out, far from that. As you make products, you may decide to put them by range of prices, the type of commodities they are. Every single business is capable of looking at its income, looking at its cost, and dividing them into discrete groups. Now, the power of groups is it leads to much more powerful decision making. It gives us a better understanding where the profits are coming from, where the costs are being expensed, which product groups make us more money, and which product groups may be a drain on our resources. If we're delivering services, likewise, it may be we like the idea of a high value ticket item, but what that might mean is when we look at the cost connected with that delivery, it may consume a disproportionate amount of resources, and actually, if anything else, we're losing money. So that's the idea of groups. So how do we know what to choose by the nature of groups? Well, there are a variety of ways. If we go back to our supermarket example, as you walk through the aisle of a supermarket, you've got a whole variety of products displayed on the shelf. Now, the supermarket knows that commodities like the staples like bread and milk will have a lower profit margin to itself, and that will have a certain level of profitability. Its higher value ticket items in terms of profitability may be clustered under things such as wines and spirits, and that will have a different profit margin as well. So you may look at your products and services and break them down into groups in terms of the type of customers, in terms of how you can describe them. Think about the idea when you sell them to your customer. So when you're selling one-to-one training, you may have a different price point for that. You may have a different way of actually selling and marketing in that business. So the key thing is to make a start and look at the sales line for your business, look at what you're selling, look at the money that comes into the till and break it down. You could break it down by the level of risk of each one. You could break it down in terms of the actual cost involved. But whichever way you do that, and if we go back to the restaurateur example, we have this example of delivery, in-house consumption and commercial catering. Those are three discrete product groups, each with a different level of margin, each with a different level of risk, each with a different level perhaps of how we engage and we deliver those products and services. So having decided the idea of what groups are, having decided how you're going to break those into groups, there's one last thing to do to add power to what you're doing as well. What you must endeavour to do is to try and think of the price of those discrete groups. And we want to work in the idea of what we call averages. So what's the average price for a sit-down meal? What's the average price for your one-to-one mentoring, your peer group training, for running a course? What's the average price for a discrete product group that you've got? And when we say price, what's the average that you're charging to that end customer? If you've got linked costs for that, so a restaurateur would have costs for the ingredients and the food preparation, and they can match that price of delivering that outside catering. Now, that's a start point. There's much more we can do with that. And in next week's videos and beyond, I'm going to be looking at, once we've got a framework, we can then use that information to power the business much more easily. And that gives us that transparency and understanding what's actually going on under the bonnet. Do not look at things in aggregate terms, in total terms. Break them down as those convenient buckets and look at the contribution that's being generated. Folks, check the show notes. There's some links to some wonderful online calculators that will help you give you some insight. I hope you found this video useful. Obviously, I'd love it if you could share it with those who you feel could benefit from that. Give me some love, give me some feedback and comments. And if there's a topic that we've not covered on the channel so far, share it with me. Until next week, folks, happy grouping.